Okay.
Oh, not yet. I have two new business items actually that I'm aware of. One is a new business item from Director Acton regarding a grant and aid, and the other new business item is supplemental information, which is part of item D1, which is the presentation material from Don Bright.
Okay, and we also have from Director Morrison a new business item with the COVID restart funds. He wanted to have a discussion at the end of our meeting. Are we okay to go now?
Yes, Madam Chair, we are live.
Okay, thank you so much. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again back to the Electoral Area Services Regular Committee meeting of December 2nd, 2020. I'd like to first acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples, and also an approval of the agenda with looking for an approval of the agenda. We have three new business items on there. One is the grant and aid. Remind me, Ms. Harrison, the second one?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
On.
The first new business item is a grant and aid request for Electoral Area B. The second item is supplemental information, which is part of the presentation material from item D1. And the third item is COVID restart funds discussion.
Thank you so much. So moving that approval of that agenda with those three items, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And moving now for the adoption of the minutes of the November 18th, 2020, moved. There a seconder? Seconded. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes, Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is none.
And moving now to public input period. Do we have anything for public input?
I'm just double checking.
Okay, thank you.
I do not see any items for public input.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. I'd also like to let the viewing public know that at any time through this meeting, they can email legislative services at cvrd.bc.ca if they have any questions to the chair at the end of this meeting. Seeing that we don't have any public input, delegation, we have a delegation today, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have item D1, which is a delegation from Don Bright from the Cowichan Bay Seniors and Community Association regarding an information presentation on the development of the Cowichan Bay Seniors and Community Association as a means to foster affordable and appropriate housing, and also the creation of an inclusive community with strong infrastructure as a goal of the Area D Cowichan Bay OCP.
Thank you so much, Ms. Harrison. And I'd like to introduce Don Bright as well. I have worked with Don for many years, and some of us who have been on this board for quite some time have been aware of the work that they have been doing in the background. And it's very valuable work, and it is a little different than affordable housing that we are used to hearing about. This one, Don's passion is co-op housing. So I turn it to you, Don, and welcome very much to our committee meeting today.
Madam Chair, I've sent him a request to unmute. I can't unmute him because he's on the phone, so he has to do that himself.
Okay. So but he can hear us. Okay, Don, you have to unmute. If you can. It depends what kind of phone Don would have, his home phone or cell phone, home phone. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what
I think there's a *3 or something like that. There is a code that you have to tell him which it is.
And I wouldn't know on a home phone.
IT knows. They're there somewhere.
Is there someone that could?
Sorry, Madam Chair, it's either, I'm sorry, *6 or *3.
Dawn?
Sorry, *6 or *4.
Dawn, *6 or *4 on your phone to get your microphones working so we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear now?
That's correct. Very good. Go ahead, Dawn. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I'd like to express my appreciation for taking your busy people's time on behalf of our association. As mentioned already, the purpose of this report is to just provide information. And I have sent out some notes or they were sent out, and I guess we formed the Couch and Bay Seniors and Community Association, which I will now refer to as CBSCA, in 2015, and we had the charitable purposes on the first page of the what we submitted there, and I noticed that CBSCA has now been incorporated as a society in 2018, so 3 years later after formation. The number one is create an inclusive community and with a strong social infrastructure is right from our official community plan. Number two is the safe emergency assembly location. Our present emergency assembly location is noted as Coverdale Watson Park, which may be sitting right on the top of a seismic fault. And is entirely inadequate for any emergency purposes. Number three is fairly clear-cut, seek socials for retirement place and affordable housing. And number four is to study and enable the creation of a cooperative housing community complex to achieve the above. Do you want me to stop there, see if there are any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, I'll go on to page 2 then. The vision of the CBSCA is summarized, will provide affordable, appropriate housing for mature adults and families and social spaces that provide a safe place for the public in times of emergency that also contribute to the well-being of social integration and sustainability. The major point here is that we are not only interested in providing affordable and appropriate housing, but we also realize the necessity of a holistic approach to the welfare of individuals. And so it's not just enough to put a roof over someone's head. It's to make them feel wanted in a community. Going on to page 3, as you noted in the number 4 in the charitable purpose of the CBSCA on page 1, the formation of a co-op housing. We would explore that. And in 2017, we've had a meeting, public meeting, and we had about 40 people in attendance of that meeting, so it was well attended. At that meeting, we formed a housing co-op planning committee, and the goals are listed below here, and these are summarized. So it's to build in the Couch and Bay Area multi-unit residential complex that will provide affordable and attainable housing for independent seniors, to develop a community drop-in center. By the way, we had that on our original OCP and our documentation for incorporation as a community center, we realized, however, this is not what we were looking for. We want a seniors and community drop-in center. A community center is just a little beyond our means here. So, and at the same time, that would provide social and amenity space for residents and other members of the community, and to reduce socialization and enhance social connectivity. And the other part of the summary is to have the proposed development serve as secondary function in an emergency assembly location. I guess that's so. I was going on to the last page, which is how far we progressed here. Number one is that we had a talk by Ken Choi and Kaijo Major on both our architects. And Ken Choi has been most helpful. He's the fellow who developed the green project on the across from in the Cowichan Bay there. Ken is presently exploring the possibility of the structure of a building complex, and he's also offered to help our association and set up an architectural group for design purposes. So he's been most helpful in it. The other is that second one is the Cooperatives First. Now, Cooperatives First is a federal government program to encourage the development of cooperatives in Canada. And unlike most federal government programs, that cycle through funds through the province, Cooperatives First is funded directly by the federal government. And of particular interest to the CBSCA is the funding of architectural cost of a building complex, and the appointment and funding of a project manager for that complex. And they have also developed many helpful courses to assist in formation and functioning of cooperatives. The third progress we've made since our development here is that in the AGM in 2019, John Harn, Executive Director of the Cowichan Housing Association, was elected as our project's advisor and is an ex officio member of our planning committee. His presence really contributes to our group, our association. Number 4 is a further development in our progress, and we had been looking all over Area D, and there is no land outside, private land available outside of excuse me, is outside of the ALR, and all the rest of the land here is ALR. So there's just no way to get land in Cowichan Bay Area D so far that we have been able to find, and we've been looking pretty hard. But I was asked to attend to a presenter to the group from the South Island, South Cowichan Seniors Committee, and from that meeting, and from also another meeting at Cobble Hill on seniors, we realized that all 4 of the regional districts of A, B, C, and D have really the same interests concerning housing. So Accordingly, we have now joined forces, and we welcome all 4 regional directors as members of our CBSA Planning Committee. I guess the thing is that we will have to change our meeting from Cowichan Bay to South Cowichan, or to be more inclusive for the rest of you people there. So where do we go from here? Well, we are a legal entity with initiative, expertise, and resources. We're ready to go. We really are, folks. We're ready to start building, except for one problem. Please help us find land upon which to build and zone for our CVRD common purpose of creating affordable and appropriate housing in the Cowichan Valley. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Don. And I have 2 microphones on. Louise and Klaus, your microphones are on. And I think I have one question for you from Director Wilson. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Don. That was great. It's not actually a question, but an amplification here for the rest of the members of the board. The other 4 South Area directors have been directly involved with Don and this organisation, and they've done a huge amount of work that's going on. And as he's pointed out, our biggest problem is to find the land, and that affects everybody throughout the CVRD for this kind of initiative. There should be in the future a presentation coming forward from John Horn on the progress that has been made so far with the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure on a plot of land down there in that area there, which, if everything works out, would be the perfect spot for this kind of cooperative, affordable, stay-in-place type of housing. So Don and everybody else is going to be pushing for that. So to give you a bit of a heads up here, directors, we're going to be looking for a lot of support from all of you, and this may well be in the form of a letter of support from the CVRD directors to MOTI and to the province when John Horn comes forward. So quick heads up for you. That's going to happen fairly soon, I think. But the plot of land, if anybody needs to know where it is, I'm quite happy to show it. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's just something that the South End has been looking for a while, and since there's been acknowledgement that the 4 areas are really keen, and also working together with co-op housing, like I had mentioned before, is all something that we'd all like to get involved in or understand and see where we can progress. So it is very valuable, and seeing no other hands up. Oh, yes, I do. I have Director Salmon. Question for Don.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Get myself unmuted. Yeah, thanks, Don, for the presentation. And I know we did sign a letter that for South End. I think it was in August, so we've got a good start. But just remind us, what's the minimum size piece of land that you would need?
That's a good question, and probably pretty close to an acre. We can. It would be nice to have, when you have cooperatives, to have a lot of members. 50 or 60 living units and so on in it, because it's the more numbers that are members are paying in. Of course, the less cost for the other people. This is, for everybody there. Looking at, for maybe looking after things like management and upkeep and so on. But because we represent 4 areas now, I would think that maybe about the units of maybe 24 living units could be very nicely put onto an area of about an acre, if we're allowed to build a 3-story structure on that. and this would also take the pressure off some of the the infrastructure and so on for transportation and so on in and out of communities and things like that.
Great. I have Director Morrison. Do you have a follow-up, Director Salmon?
Oh, thank you. That's good to know about an acre. That seems doable. Thank you.
Director Morrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and through you to Don, and congratulations on the progress that you made so far, and love the concept, and wishing you all the best of luck here. But my question is one that's kind of developed a little bit just in my understanding of sort of the emergency preparedness and the work that is done there, and the question is around the concept of muster station assembly location that it appears to be part of the presentation. Now, I read this on Sunday, so I could be getting a little fuzzy on my details, but I thought that was part of the component, one of the components that was here. And my understanding in that sort of search and rescue and emergency response is the needs are very different than the notion of what you're proposing as far as community, seniors, co-op, housing, that sort of thing. So is that is the combining of that an attractant for possible grant opportunities, or and has there been connection with the the emergency preparedness folks, the public safety folks around the appropriateness of that sort of function in your co-op and housing and drop-in center?
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, what we have done here is because we have had no place to even start to build, we have not explored a lot of these avenues. Our concept, however, originally was that if we have a power outage like we had last year, or maybe of a week or so, we've had seniors who were pretty darn cold, and they had no place to go. So within the co-op, we would try to have areas and so on for people could take refuge. Now, I mentioned the problem of seismic here. That's a seismic fault, which, by the way, my wife and I woke up to a big bang about 2 or 3 years after we moved here, and it was the movement of that fault, and that fault goes right under Salt Spring Island through Cherry Point and right up through this area out to the west, and the point is, that is where the most population of our community here in Cowichan Bay live, and because it's on the slope overlooking the estuary, and a great place to get a view. So we need a assembly area, but the thing is, what we'll have to work with that. I think we also discussed at a meeting yesterday in our CBSCA the concept of the fire hall. This area needs a fire hall and a new fire hall, and looking at a possible incorporation of that sort of thing into that too. So, but anyway, we just don't have any assembly area or no gym to go through if we have forest fires and things like that. So we have to have some place to go. And so I don't know if that's going to answer your question. It's something we really have to explore yet.
Okay, thank you so much. Seeing no other hands, I'd like to thank you once again, Dawn, for presenting to us. And we have our silent applause for you, and we appreciate it, and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Okay, Ms. Harrison, moving on to correspondence.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item C1 is a grant and aid request from Electoral Area C, Cobble Hill for Wild Safe BC. And the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid Electoral Area C, Cobble Hill in the amount of $500 be provided to Wild Safe BC for educational supplies, specifically a taxidermy black bear, which would greatly enhance the Wild Safe BC program in the Cowichan Valley.
It's been moved. And second, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Could I also add the second one with Area B in there?
You may alter the agenda. That's your privilege to bring
Yes.
NB, what's it?
One?
One up, yep.
Yes, please. So NB1 is the same recommendation, but from Area B, correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair, but we should vote on the first one before we do the second.
Oh, sure. Okay, I was going to move right along. Okay, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Now the second one.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that a grant and aid Electoral Area B, Shawnigan Lake, in the amount of $500 be provided to Wild Safe BC for educational supplies, specifically a taxidermied black bear, which would greatly enhance the Wild Safe program in the Cowichan Valley.
Okay, has that been moved? Second? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Moving now to reports. R1, Ms. Harrison?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R1 is a report from the Finance Division regarding gas tax Community Works Fund 2.0, Area G, Thetis Island Community Forbes Hall improvements. And the recommendation before you is that it be recommended to the board that Electoral Area G Community Works Fund 2.0 funding of $8,100 be allocated to the Thetis Island Community Association for a retractable wall at Forbes Hall, subject to entering into a formal agreement with the CVRD respecting the use of the funds.
Okay, it's been moved. So seconded. Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you. R2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R2 is a report from the Emergency Management Division regarding inclusion into the Lake Cowichan Fire Protection Service area. And the recommendations before you are number 1, that the certificate of sufficiency confirming that a sufficient petition requesting inclusion into the Cowichan Lake Fire Protection Service area be received. Number 2, that CVRD bylaw number 1657, which is the Cowichan Lake Fire Protection Service Establishment bylaw number 1994, be amended to include the properties described as PID 000148644, PID 030232503, PID 000148652, PID 000148661, PID 0160748991, and PID 0282165547.
I believe it was moved by Director Morrison. No, not moved. Okay, Director Morrison, you'd like to speak to this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. I think I'm going to need one of our public safety staff on this one, specifically around fire protection coverage. I had a call from one of the property owners in the area, or occupiers in the area, and if I'm understanding the location of this, and the map isn't really helping, except that I think it's way the heck down the bottom, river bottom, about as far away from the responding fire hall as you can get. And I do know that people that are closer than these properties have raised questions as to the insurance coverage for distance from a responding hall. So if I could, through you, before we consider moving this resolution through to staff, I know that the Town of Lake Cowichan's Fire Department service has done some extraordinary additional work to provide coverage beyond the normal distances. Can you assure me that these properties will get the full benefit of a responding fire department, even though they are sort of at the outer limits of the distance for within a responding fire department's area?
Mr. Dijon?
Yes, thank you. Under the terms of the contract with the Lake Cowichan Fire Department, they provide the same service as they would in their, more or less in their own town jurisdiction. So the only difference is, yes, it is a longer response time. When it comes to the insurance issue, it's different for different people, but they would be outside of the 8-kilometer rule. However, there is a different level or an increased level of insurance savings just having fire protection, just not as great being within the 8-kilometer. So we have a few other areas in other fire protection districts that are like that. But at the end of the day, other than the response time, there's still fire protection there, or will be there.
Follow up Director Morrison, and then I have Director Nicholson.
So maybe I was asleep at the switch, but that 8-kilometer distances seems like a new number to me. I thought it was longer than that, but I guess where I'm sitting right now, and I see Director Nicholson has her hand up too, and I'd probably be comfortable to move this resolution forward. But I would like to ensure that perhaps public safety and myself can have some discussions with the Town of Lake Cowichan, because I think there's an impression that people are going to get the full benefit of a responding fire department and the full insurance benefit from having that. And I just want to make sure that everybody that's requesting inclusion is going to have a clear understanding of their circumstances. Is it going to be possible for us to have a virtual meeting before this goes to the board? Through to Mr. DeJong.
I'm sure we could. Just for clarification, that myself and the fire department and the fire chief had lots of discussion on this. The insurance issue, again, is different for different property owners because some don't even have insurance. So that's a bit of a moot point. So the operational service coming from the fire department will be the same as in the rest of the contract area that we're getting. Yes, they are on the extreme end of the travel, but they are the closest fire department to that area. And so even outside of the insurance issue, the residents that want fire protection just see the protection value of it.
Thank you. Director Nicholson.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm very hazy on how this works. So are the other properties that are white on this map, do they get fire service or not?
No, they don't.
So what happens if one of their houses is burning? Do they look on a map and say, yes, this address gets us, no, this doesn't, and we don't go out?
Correct. And
if someone says it's a human safety issue, does that change things?
It probably will. We've had those scenarios before. The dispatch will probably still call the fire department for that area. And I know the fire departments have gone out before, even in just the life safety role. Depending if it's winter or summer, they may put the fire out just so the rest of the community doesn't burn down. But we face these same issues up in Goldstream Heights and in other areas as well. these people were polled if they want to be within fire protection, and they were very clear that they did not want it.
So I guess what I'm wondering is, is this a policy issue that needs to be revisited in light of the wildfire risk now?
Mr. Dijon?
I'm sure we can look at it. The issue still is we can't force fire protection on these properties unless we go through the bulk area and the 50% of the property values and such. But we tried to calculate that one out for this little area as well. We weren't going to achieve that 50%.
My other question is around the Salem Fire Hall. Is it involved at all in this, or would only the Lake Cowichan Fire Department respond?
It's primarily the Lake Cowichan Fire Department. They're the closest agency. The next closest mutual aid, if there was a fire, there would be Salem.
Are you finished, Director Nicholson? It's follow-up?
Well, I actually, I think we need to have a conversation about wildfire risk and fire response and services that we provide moving forward, because I suspect that we're going to have more problems and not fewer. And this makes me really uncomfortable, this sort of piecemeal approach to fire suppression.
It also looks like there's some choices for community members as well. Director Morrison, go ahead, please.
I'd move the recommendation. If there's a seconder, I'd speak to it briefly.
It's been moved and seconded. Go ahead, Director Morrison.
I support the efforts of staff. I know that if they have somebody come in the door and request service, they usually do a pretty good job of reaching out. I know the fire departments like to do what they can to get as many people in. And as I said, I had an inquiry last week from someone that was interested. And wildfire is a very important issue, especially in that area, so close to the river. And it's a different pocket that it's funded out of, but in this case, I would be supportive of these being included, and then we work towards getting more of the properties down in that area included after the fact. So I'm supportive of this and ask you to support it as well.
Okay, I'm going to call the question. Oh, Director Salmon first.
Just to follow up on that, how would we work toward getting more of them included?
Mr. Dijon?
Or that was me waving to get my light back on. Sorry. Again, it's tricky, this fire inclusion. We can't force the service on people. And in this particular case, there was a grassroots movement by the community. And they formed a little mini ad hoc group. They went door to door. They created flyers. And this is what we garnered. And I had a lot of feedback from the people that, again, those that are still white on the map do not want the fire protection service. So, and there's not much more we can do after that.
Would it be an idea to try again in a certain amount of time just to see if minds have changed?
We can definitely try. And I'm glad this topic is coming up, but this isn't the only area in the regional district. You know, the biggest one, again, is the Goldstream Heights. Mm-hmm. That's a file on how not to do fire inclusion for the last 20 years. So you have long-standing families in the Scotts Falls area that have been doing quite fine in their mind, and they would like to keep the status quo. So.
Okay, I'm going to call the question now. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Moving on now to R3, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R3 is a report from the Community Planning Division regarding zoning bylaw housekeeping for Electoral Area E, Cowichan Station, Satlam, Glenora. The report lists 3 options, and staff are recommending option number 1. Would you like me to read that, or would you like to refer to staff first?
Go ahead and read it. Thank you.
Okay, option number 1 is that it be recommended to the board that draft amendment bylaw number 4359 be forwarded to the board for first and second reading. Number 2, that a public hearing for bylaw number 4359 be waived in favor of a public notice in accordance with sections 464 and 467 of the Local Government Act. And number 3, that no referrals for bylaw number 4359 be sent.
Looking to the director of the area. Director Nicholson?
Thank you. I would actually like to refer this back to staff, and let me just, I wrote it down, and I will send my motion to you. And then I will read it. Now I have to find my sent item.
Sending it to Ms. Harrison?
Yeah, everyone. Okay, so what I'm moving is to refer this back to staff to seek input from the APC regarding the proposed accessory building size changes, and to staff to address the housekeeping issue regarding calculation of lot size and consideration of wetland riparian areas. So if there's a second, I can speak to that.
If there's a seconder for a referral motion, I don't see a second.
Can you repeat that, please?
Go ahead. You'd like it repeated? Go ahead, Director Nicholson. Could you repeat that?
So I would like to refer it back to staff. So in the amended bylaw, there are several changes. One is about the accessory building size. And I would like to seek input from the APC regarding the proposed accessory building size changes. And I would like staff to also address the housekeeping issue regarding calculation of lot size and consideration of wetland riparian areas. So that was an issue that was missed in this housekeeping list. And I think that was because Keith Batstone left. Keith was working on this and it was handed off to Mike, so. It needs a bit more work.
Director Acton?
I just have a question. I'm confused where this is coming from. Is this coming from when we had a previous meeting not too long ago and your accessory buildings were coming up for variances? And then now you want to put something else in there as well? Is this where this came from?
Maybe I will leave it to Mike Tippett to explain.
Mr. Tippett, maybe you can clarify.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, my recollection is that the committee many months ago, I can't remember exactly when, directed staff to prepare some interim amendments to deal with some fairly loose ends in respect of the Area E zoning bylaw, one of which was a site that's actually unzoned, which is a school, and a bunch of other issues around matters that Director Nicholson just mentioned, accessory building size and parcel coverage regulations. Somehow what got lost in the translation, and I understand it was originally part of the original mandate, was to deal with what she was just mentioning now, the idea of having a regulation concerning wetlands and how, where a parcel that is being subdivided has wetland area on it, how it is actually calculated in terms of determining lot yield. That was not, or is not, part of the draft bylaw, as was just noted. So yes, we could certainly do that. It shouldn't take that long, I hope.
Okay, so there was a referral motion. I'm looking for a seconder. Director Morrison, you second that referral? No? You'd like to speak? Go ahead.
So this is exactly what I was referring to this morning in regards to the work plan of this division of land use services. You know, as I said, I've been sitting on a basically finished OCP for 3 years, and we're trying to get work done. And this, from all intents, when I read this, was, you know, this should be quickly achieved and passed and sent through to it, because it was going to be a fairly easy update. So with a referral back to staff to engage in further tweaks to a bylaw that's going to be changed is a use of resources that we all pay for, that is, in my mind, not going to get us towards having that completed project in 2 years if we refer things back again. I would be comfortable if the work that's been done so far was moved forward, but if this is going to be further distraction from the main work that needs to be done, I don't think it was referred back that long ago. I was actually surprised to see it back in this form so quickly. So, I guess my question is, when are we going to stop detracting from the principal focus of what our long-range planning is supposed to be doing?
I don't know who you're directing that to, but I did hear from Mr. Tippett that this is a very small, this could be quick, but I don't know if staff can answer any of that. Go ahead,
Madam
Mr.
Chair,
Tippett.
my impression was it was something of a rhetorical question, but I understand the sentiment for sure. Yes, I don't think doing a little work on the details of how the parcel area reduction for removing wetlands from effective parcel size would take very long. It'd probably be a couple of hours to figure that out with other staff in development services, and then just adding a clause to the actual bylaw, which, so as I say, it shouldn't be that bad. Did I understand that part of the bylaw was going to be referred to the APC? And if it's the parcel coverage and the other issue about accessory building size, that too, if the discussion of the APC is limited to that scope, it shouldn't take much time, in my opinion, but that's just my guess at this point.
Director Nicholson?
On the issue of referring to the APC, it's very much like having a commission and not running the budget by them, which we discussed earlier this morning with Parks. I had an APC that worked very hard on an Area E OCP review, and I think that they would be very interested and appreciative of the opportunity to take a look at what's being proposed. And yeah, I don't think it will be a big deal.
Director Acton?
I think we should move forward with staff proposes, and if Director Nicholson wants to bring up the next topic, which is important, but there's not a lot of development happening in Area E. Your APC could bring it up and have a motion as to what they would like to see happen, and then we could move forward with that. Or I know Mr. Tippett, would like to see all the work get done. And I appreciate that, but I agree we should just keep some of these things moving so that we can head towards our harmonized OCP. If we make too many exceptions, we just keep going around in circles.
Director Nicholson?
I think what I'm asking is very minor in the scheme of things. And if you recall, Area E had their OCP completely put on hold when we were halfway through. And there are some significant issues with our zoning bylaw that could be tweaked now that would save a lot of work in the next couple of years before the modernization kicks in. And I think accessory buildings in particular are one where you've seen lots of applications for dealing with the accessory building size. So I just want to fix it so we don't have to deal with it anymore. That will save staff time.
Director Salmon?
Yeah, thank you. So, well, hearing from Mr. Tippett that it's not a big deal, I just wanted to second the referral motion from Director Nicholson.
Okay, the referral motion has been moved and seconded, and moved to Director Kuhn on the referral.
Just a comment from what I heard and from what I experienced watching the Area EAPC. Nothing is ever easy. So I would caution that.
Okay, I'm Director Smith on the referral.
So can I just have some clarification on the referral? So we're referring back the recommendation that we have in front of us, and we're adding to that the measurement, the way of measuring when it comes to the riparian area on a parcel. Is that what I'm hearing? And then if we're looking at the measurement for riparian area on a parcel, would that be something that all of us would benefit from?
Mr. Tippett?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The riparian issue is that right now in the electoral area e-zoning bylaw, there's a clause that states that if you have a wetland or a watercourse on your property, the area that that wetland or watercourse represents, calculated by a surveyor, cannot be used as part of the minimum parcel size when you're subdividing property. However, the implementation of that regulation has apparently not transpired to the satisfaction of the APC or director. And so the issue is to take a close look at that existing regulation and see how it could be possibly improved upon. I believe right now there's only, I think maybe Area I has that or a similar regulation to that on the U-boat land site, and maybe one or two other areas. I can't remember. So it's not the type of regulation that exists region-wide right now. But I think the point is well taken that it could potentially result in some beneficial options, for the rest of the electoral areas in the future if we come to a satisfactory solution in Area E.
Director Kuhn or Director Smith, a follow-up, and then Director Kuhn. Follow-up, Director Smith.
Yes, thank you. So is someone like Cora Lee going to also be involved? So in case it's something that can be put into the overarching documents? Because I know we're talking about two different things, but we are trying to move along with the MOCP. So will this be part of that?
Mr.
Madam
Tippett.
Chair, thank you. It's a good question, but to get right down to it, the regulation that we're talking about is a zoning regulation. It's the kind of thing that wouldn't appear in policy in an official community plan. It's kind of a implementation regulation that's very technical in nature. But I do think, as I said at the end of my last comments, that if we come to a satisfactory solution, it could help inform the modernized zoning bylaw, or the harmonized/modernized zoning bylaw that potentially could be applied throughout the area. But I don't see it directly affecting the HOCP, MOCP, although of course I will keep Corley informed about what we're doing.
Director Kuhn.
Considering that we're actively working on the HOCP and the modernized plan, I would much rather leave this aside now, and if need be, we can insert that later. I can't see how we can deal with one individual area now and do this, and then later on comes the whole rework of the HOCP. And we look at that, and then there'll be big discussions again. Okay, I don't want in this area. We want that in here. I would much rather go with the whole project first and then deal with it individually.
Okay, this is a referral. Director Nicholson, to the referral.
I never know what that means when it's to the referral. I would just like to respond to Director Kuhn's comments, because when a zoning bylaw is really just a tool for implementing your policy and your official community plan. And it's a technical thing. So when zoning bylaws aren't working exactly as intended, a housekeeping thing would be to fix it. And I think this is one of the problems with our planning department over the last many years. There hasn't been a lot of fixing of issues that keep coming up over and over again. And often they just require a small fix to make them work better and in keeping with what the policy is. So I think when we say housekeeping, that's what this is. And I think it's something that we should expect to be an ongoing part of the work that we do and the decisions that we need to make. And that is in addition to what we need to do overall, which is modernize our policies and then create zoning that conforms to those policies.
Director Acton, then Director Kuhn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so let's look at it as a form of policy then. We don't get the APC to let us know how to implement the policy. So I want to support Area E on this and making their zoning bylaws a little bit better to protect themselves. So let's do that. Let's pass what's happened today and have a motion to, for staff to also, create a similar, housekeeping item with a formula for protecting the wetland areas, or for calculating the area that's developable with, when there's a wetland area. These are two separate items, and move them, let's move it forward.
Okay, so I'm gonna, Director Nicholson, I was gonna call the question on your referral. I believe that Director Salmon seconded that motion. Am I correct? Okay. Director Nicholson, okay, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor? Opposed? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 opposed. Motion's carried. Motion's defeated, carried. So that motion, we go back to the main motion. And I need to move, Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So option 1 was that it be recommended to the board that draft amendment bylaw number 4359 be forwarded to the board for first and second reading, that a public hearing for bylaw number 4359 be waived in favor of a public notice in accordance with sections 464 and 467 of the Local Government Act, and that no referrals, number 3, that no referrals for bylaw number 4359 be sent.
Okay, has there been a mover and a seconder? Seconder? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Moving on now to R4. Director Nicholson?
I would like to make a motion that staff address the housekeeping issue regarding calculation of lot size in consideration of the wetland areas, wetland and riparian areas.
Been moved. Is there a seconder? It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Director Salmon?
So I'm assuming this will be for all areas, all zoning bylaws that it applies to?
I think it just applies to the area E one. I don't, Director Nicholson?
I'm just doing it for my area.
Area E.
Should we not do it for all if it's an issue? I seem to remember it something like that.
So housekeeping for area E that would like to be addressed. It's not for all that that Director Nicholson is looking for.
Well, can I ask the question? Maybe if staff knows it, would this make sense to do it for all relevant, all areas where it would?
Mr. Tippett, does it make sense to do all? I think we just go ahead.
Madam Chair, we could possibly, for those other electoral areas that have a similar regulation to the one in Area E concerning wetlands that already exists, I think it would be relatively easy to, when we report back to committee on this, include consideration of those bylaws in the proposed possible future amendment. But I think for those areas that don't have such a regulation right now, and I think most of the electoral areas are like that, it's a much bigger discussion to bring a new regulation that doesn't currently exist into play, as opposed to fine-tuning one that has existed for some years. So that would be my advice on it.
Okay.
Which I think is currently area E and I that have it.
Madam Chair, I believe you're correct. It's possible. I can't remember off the top of my head. It may be in South Cowichan zoning as well. If you want, I could check right now.
Director Salmon, it was your question.
Yeah, I can wait. If it is there, you'll address it in the report. Right.
Okay. Director Kuhn.
Well, I think that would require.
You turned your microphone off.
Yeah, it would require a whole different separate discussion. I mean, we're making decisions on the fly here. I'm not comfortable with that. If we want to revisit this issue with that whole wetland, that should be a separate discussion. Let's deal just with Area E now. And if we want to have that, if we want to have a report done on that affects all the other areas, then that's a whole different issue. I'm not comfortable at this stage where we're basically doing housekeeping with one area, suddenly spreading it over the whole area. I don't think that's right.
Director Nicholson suggested that if I've got this corrected in her motion, it's only for Area E. And she's shaking her head, and I'm going to call the question. Is everybody clear? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried, 4-5. Okay, moving on now to R3. Am I correct, Ms. Harrison?
It's actually R4, Madam Chair.
Okay.
R4 is a report from the Parks and Trails Division regarding cellular tower statutory right-of-way agreement renewal, request for Old Baldley Mountain Park. The staff report contains 2 options, and staff are recommending option number 2. Would you like me to read it for you?
Yes, please.
So option number 2 is that it be recommended to the board that a 1-year extension of registered statutory right-of-way agreements with TELUS Communications, Inc., that's SRW EJ 51187, and Rogers Communication, Inc., SRW EMS 51640, for telecommunications equipment on block 1420 Malahad District, which is the Old Baldy Mountain Park, with a 5% adjustment to the annual rental fee be approved.
Looking to committee, I have 2 microphones on, Director Nicholson and Salmon. So it's been moved and seconded by you, Director Salmon. You've seconded the motion?
No,
So it was Director Acton and Director Morrison. Call the question. All in favor?
Sorry, I have questions.
Sorry.
That was sorry. So just to be clear, the recommendation doesn't say this, but you're also going to look into the RCMP repeater possibility.
Madam Chair, that is correct. Yes.
Okay, and follow up.
Yes, follow up.
Is it, so I noticed the recommendation specifies 5%. Is that wise to limit it to specific? Is it, I don't know what market rates are, but I assume it might be
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, this is being brought forward because, as noted in the report, with the 1-year time frame provided with the 1-year extension approved by the board at the end of last year, when the 25-year lease agreements expired, we're just wanting to bring forward a simple renewal for a further year, if supported by the board, so we can look to a long-term contemporary renewal that's going to be, I think, more progressive in terms of the annual rent fees. So this is, that ties over for a further year.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Salmon, all clear?
Yeah, I just thought he was referring to the whole long term, but it's only for the 1 year.
All right, I'm going to once again call the question. All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you. Moving on now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item R5 is a report from the Parks and Trails Division regarding the proposed Parkland Exchange Amendment for Sutherland Park in Electoral Area D, Cowichan Bay. The staff report lists 2 options, and staff are recommending option number 1. Option number 1 contains 4 items. Would you like me to read it out for you?
Yes, please.
Option 1 that it be recommended to the board that resolution number 19351-3 be rescinded. Number 2, that a land exchange agreement with the owners of Eagle Shores Lane subdivision to subdivide a portion of their lands inclusive of lot remaining 1, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, VIP 85643, and Lot 1, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan District, Plan EPP 50188, and Lot 2, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan District, Plan EPP 50188, to exchange for CVRD Park Lot 6, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, EPP 50188, as shown on Attachment B of the staff report to the December 2nd, 2020 Electoral Area Services Committee be approved. Number 3, that a bylaw be prepared authorizing the exchange of land described as CVRD Park Lot 6, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, EPP 50188, for portions of Lot 1 remaining, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, Lot 1, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, and Lot 2, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan District, Plan EPP 50188, to be used for CVRD park purposes as shown on Attachment B of the staff report to the December 2nd, 2020 Electoral Area Services Committee. Number 4, that public approval for adoption of the land exchange bylaw, which is CVRD Park Lot 6, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, for portions of lot remaining 1, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, Lot 1, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan Land District, and Lot 2, Section 4, Range 7, Cowichan District, Plan EPP 50188, be obtained through an alternative approval process.
Thank you. Looking for a mover? Been moved and seconded. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Motion's carried. Thank you so much. Ooh, moving right along. Any unfinished business?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There is none.
And we do have a couple of new business, I believe. We took care of new business 1, new business 2.
Was dealt with under item D1.
And then the 3 is the COVID restart funds.
That is correct.
Okay. Director Morrison, you'd like to speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this has come to me just in the last sort of 24 to 36 hours, but I think we were all thrilled to hear that we were going to be getting $900 and some odd thousand for some of the work that needs to be done and some of the expenses that have been incurred. And I don't have all the details of the program, but one of our colleagues, electoral area director colleagues from the Capital Regional District, reached out to me about a day and a half ago and provided me with a chart that I haven't had the opportunity to send around to you, but there seems to be a huge difference in the allocations of dollars under this granting program. That seems to be in favor of municipal structures, municipal organizations versus the electoral areas and rural areas. It's based on population, but even with the a highly populated area like Director Acton's, it seems to fall short from in comparison to others. Now I know that Ms. Wayner has done some preliminary work for the report that she's presenting to the corporate or regional services next week. But if you could provide us with some information and detail, and I'll try and pull the chart that was sent to me from the Capital Regional District. I think it's quite start. There's a lot of money going out the door, but not a lot going into the rural areas. So with that, could we maybe ask Ms. Weiner what she has in the way of information?
Sure. I did have Director Acton's hand up in the meantime. Director Acton, would you like to speak first before I go to Ms. Weiner?
I just thought Director Morrison should share this chart with us because we're kind of talking blind here. And if he shared it,
yeah,
you know, and I think it could also apply to the grant funding that just happened through SERIP. Again, the province said they would only take 2 applications from a regional district, but took 2 applications from municipalities as well. And so if you compare, let's take Mill Bay as a middle amount for us in electoral areas, 3,500 people. Now that's bigger than Lake Cowichan. That's bigger than, it's almost the size of Duncan. Like, and we're meant to share amongst all of us 2 applications. So I think we need to let the province know that this kind of, this is bad COVID behavior.
It doesn't seem fair. Ms. Weiner, can you enlighten us a little bit about this?
Yes, through the chair to Director Morrison. The funding letter I received stated that under Section 36 of the Local Government Grants Regulation, the amount to each local government was set by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs. And then for regional districts, the funding was based on 3 items. It was one, there was a flat amount of $300,000. And then for the total regional district population, there was a rate of $3.10. And then for the rural part of the regional district, there was a rate of $8.13. So if you broke it out based on that information, the rural population of the $903,000 was $326,000. The total regional districts was $276,000 with a flat fee of $300. That came up with the $903,000.
Okay, this is for information. Are there any more questions? Director Acton.
Well, and so can you repeat that? And those funds are meant to be shared regionally, not for the electoral areas. So to Director Morrison's point, is there any equitable relief coming to electoral areas? You know, we've lost funds from all different types of areas, community centers, etc.
Ms. Weiner?
Through the chair to Director Acton, the allocation, as you're correct, it states in the letter, is to be entirely at the discretion of the board. So it's not specifically so an amount goes to electoral areas. I can speak to the COVID expenses that have been incurred to date, that 56% of those expenses were for electoral area services. So there's approximately about $550,000 that's been expended on COVID, and 56% of that was expended on electoral area services.
No, Director Acton.
So can you kind of highlight what types of services that would have been affected regionally then? So it's almost 50-50.
Yeah, some of those services you would have would be like the Cowichan Community Center, the theater, those type of things. It's not necessarily regional, but they were more municipal driven. So I took them out of the mix for the calculation, as well as solid waste.
Yeah, so then it's still technically affecting electoral areas. It's just coming out of a regional budget. Got it.
Okay, Director Morrison, is there anything else that you would?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I can't find the chart. I've just sent a very long, like a 65-page thing, but there was and I'll have to try and track it down for everyone, and you'll have it for information. But it shows that there's significant dollars that are going to centers, and you'll have that information for our next meeting.
Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't come up with it sooner.
Okay, that's okay. I have Director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't really too worried about this, but having heard all the questions which are going on now, it is quite concerning in as much as, and if I'm hearing this correctly, 900,000 is going to be split up regionally, and the board will make up its mind who gets what. Within the region, does the municipalities, or are the municipalities receiving a separate amount on top of what they're getting here. Oh, I see nodding head. Well, that's not good. So when it comes to the board, I'm hoping that the EADs will act as one and say to the municipalities, sorry, municipalities, you're not having any of my money. Give it back to me. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Director Smith.
Yeah, the article in the Citizen indicates that North Cowichan's getting 4.4 million. I mean, there's obviously some really interesting math going on in these areas. And if electoral areas are the ones that have to sit back and look at other areas receiving that kind of funding, that's pretty hard to stomach when we've got enough people in our areas, businesses, and the rest of it that are not doing well. And they're looking at that 4.4 million that North Cowichan's receiving. And I'm not sure what Ladysmith or Duncan or Lake Cowichan is receiving, but this isn't looking good on the government side when they start taking these types of actions. If the money had just come for electoral areas, then it still is pretty low. And anyhow, just thought you'd like to know the 4.4 million.
Yeah. So what's the committee's pleasure with this? Is there a direction, Director Acton?
Well, maybe Director Morrison would like to do a notice of motion, and then we could have that information available in 2 weeks' time on our next Electoral Area Services Committee meeting. And if he
does that have to be a notice of motion, or you can just send us that information and we can discuss it in our next Electoral Area Services? Go ahead, Director Morrison, then Director Wilson, and I believe Director Nicholson.
Ms. Weiner is reporting to the committee, the board, next week. Okay. So I will gather what information I can and submit it to the committee chair for distribution to directors for to be, have information going into that meeting next week. So
great. So we'll have that information then. And Director Wilson and Nicholson, is that okay? Do you still need to speak?
Yeah, another quick question for you to clarify things for me, and I'm sure people will nod their heads. Does this also mean that the municipalities can come to us when we're dividing it up and say, we'd like 20% of your money, please, but we can't say to them, can we have 20% of your money? We can't take money off them, but they can take money off us? Is that true?
Ms. Weiner?
Through the chair to Director Wilson, these funds are to be used for regional district purposes, so that would be regional services. So as reporting as required to be done through our financial statements, it would be funds to our services.
Okay, well, sorry. Could I say to Mayor Sebring, you've got 4.2 million. Can we have some of that money? That's not right, right? We can't have it.
Okay, I have. Who have I missed? I have Director Kuhn's hand, but did I miss anyone else? Okay, go ahead, Director Kuhn, to close.
I imagine our regional district is not the only one that has such discrepancy between, let's say, the municipalities and the district. I wonder if it would be possible to find out what the justification is for a North Cowichan getting that much money versus the CVID, for instance, as a regional district. When you think our population, basically, North Cowichan is about, what, 35,000 people? So a little bit less than half of the CVID total population. So if the rest of the CVID has 45,000, let's say, and here 35,000 people get 4 million or whatever, and then the rest of us get, what, 900,000, and that has to be divided somewhere. It doesn't seem to make sense. It would be interesting to find out what the justification is.
Well, then we will get some information and it'll come to the next, where will it come to, Ms. Weiner? The next board meeting? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving on to question period, I believe, Ms. Harrison.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank
And
you.
I have one submission.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This submission is from Susan Kaufman, and it reads, good afternoon, Madam Chair. In regards to R3 zoning bylaw housekeeping in Area E, the CVRD states its value public input and consultation, but today the ESAC endorsed a zoning bylaw amendment without any kind of public consultation. How can the CVRD say it values public input and consultation if they/you do not consult with the public? The Area E APC/OCP Commission recognized during our work that the minimum accessory building size warranted a review, as has the issues regarding wetland areas. These discussions as applications came forward. Why in the very least was the proposed amendment not referred to the APC for comment? The APC would likely have added additional items that were not discussed or proposed in the current amendment as written. A reminder that the EASC first endorsed the budget for Area E OCP review in January 2009, and associated work/reports/public consultations were begun and published well in advance of 2016. The Area E OCP has been subjected to an extraordinary amount of political interference. Isn't that what we witnessed today when staff stated the referral request was for a minor adjustment of an oversight that amounted to a couple of hours of work and would address ongoing issues for applications? ? Respectfully, Susan Kaufman, Salem.
Well, I guess that was more of a comment. The committee decided, I think what I heard from the committee is they wanted to go forward with the harmonization and the OCP and not to hold anything up. And so I think that they felt that it would be more appropriate that we work all together instead of dividing it up.
And that concludes the questions that have been submitted, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Director Morrison, you had your hand up.
Yeah, move to resolve into closed session.
Okay, been moved. Is there a seconder? Okay, and we are going into close under Ms. Harrison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under sections subsection 1C. So it's Community Charter Part 4, Division 3, Section 90, subsection 1C, which is labor relations.
Okay, and then do we also, how does it work that we reconvene our earlier special electoral area services committee after we're finished the closed? Will we get another meeting or it'll come up? How does that work? Do we stay on? No, we can't stay on. You're muted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You have been sent a new invite for reconvene of this committee meeting. The system required a time. However, I can adjust the time to start when we're ready to start. So you have the link and it is available.
Okay. So currently we go into closed. We end this meeting and go into closed.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. See you over there.
10 minutes? Do we get a short break? 10 minutes?
Yes, we do. 10 minutes. Thanks. I'm bad with the breaks, aren't I?